Hi, I'm Karima Brown. It's Sunday and it's time for The Fix. Welcome to this edition of The Fix, where every Sunday we hold those in power to account. We tell you what matters, how it affects you, and why you should care. Corruption in South Africa is a cancer, eating away at the fabric of our society. It undermines trust in the state institutions, and it robs the government of the ability to provide basic services and goods to South Africans. It has now become almost endemic in our society. What's worse is that during this time of COVID-19, when we should all be pulling together, members of the political elite have used it as an opportunity to line their own pockets. So much so that the office of the presidency has now been engulfed in a scandal that is threatening to erode the faith and belief South Africans have in the leadership of President Cyril Ramaphosa. His spokesperson, Khusela Diko, her husband, and the Gauteng MEC for Health and his wife stand accused of irregularly benefiting from deals linked to PPE. Joining me to talk about the investigation into all deals linked to the national state of disaster is Advocate Andy Mothibi. He is the head of the Special Investigative Unit, also known as the SIU. Advocate Mothibi, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me here on The Fix.
Good morning, Karima. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to come and engage with you on your program and with the public.
Now, Advocate, we're obviously going to be coming to Ms. Khusela Diko and her husband, but I want to start just a little bit back. Last week, in an interview with ENCA, with our political editor, Vuyo Mvoko, you told him that you had submitted a report to the Gauteng Premier, David Makhura, and this was because he had asked you to investigate an e-commerce tender deal worth 30 million rand. And you told Mr. Mvoko that the Premier is sitting with the report. You did find irregularities. He was supposed to tell the public on Wednesday. I watched the briefing of the Premier on Wednesday. He didn't say anything. Tell us what the report found.
Karima, thank you very much for that. As the Premier indicated, we entered into a secondment agreement with the Gauteng government, and that approach is permitted by the legislation that governs the work of SIU. So we do our work based on two approaches: the secondment agreement with state institutions, and we also mainly do our work based on the proclamation signed by the President. So in this regard, with Gauteng government, they approached SIU and said they would like us to assist the government of Gauteng in investigating various irregularities. Those spanned from the Department of Health, medical legal, which we have done good work. We have exposed various irregularities and corruption between state attorney, health officials, and the Department of Health in general in Gauteng. And as part of the work that we do was also that there were allegations that were sent to us relating to the IT contract that you talk of. So we conducted that investigation. It was in the e-governance department. We conducted that investigation again based on the secondment agreement. I think at this stage, suffice to say that we did find some irregularities, but we would like to give the Premier the opportunity to make those pronouncements. He did say when he briefed the public now in the week past that he was just focusing on the Department of Health PPE. He will be engaging and briefing the public on all the work that we have done with the Gauteng department.
Advocate Mothibi, the reason why I'm asking is because you have given the tender irregularity report that the Premier requested. You have given that to him before the President even made the special proclamation that allowed you to look at PPE in general related to the national state of disaster. Now, Gauteng Health Department, of course, has a terrible track record with the tragedy of Life Isidimeni. We also know that there's been some senior resignations in the health department, and I want to know whether those resignations are linked to what you found in the report, because according to what you told Mr. Mvoko, the Premier told you that he will actually speak about this on Wednesday. Why do you think he didn't take the public into confidence to talk about who is implicated in that 30 million rand e-tender that was being investigated by you?
At this stage, Karima, it's going to really be difficult for me to speak on behalf of the Premier's office or the Premier himself. As I understood him when he was briefing the public, what was really occupying the public interest, and it's still doing so even up to now, it's the investigations around the Department of Health PPEs, and he spent quite a lot of time on that. So I can only just really give my views. The Premier would authoritatively state the rationale behind not touching on other investigations, but he did say, and I remember hearing him well, that he will be engaging with the Gauteng residents, give the public on all the investigations that we've done with the Gauteng department.
Okay, Advocate Mothibi, the reason why I'm harping on this is because there is a perception in South Africa that law enforcement agencies such as yourself take a very long time to do their work. That's why the President gave you special regulations so that you can work with speed. You're supposed to give him weekly reports. So the point I'm trying to get to is the fact that you've given the Premier the findings of a report relating to a 30 million rand e-commerce contract, and he had an opportunity to tell the public what you found and what action he's going to take, and he didn't do that. But let's go to the PPE contracts relating now to the health MEC, his wife's company, and also the President's spokesperson, Kusela Diko, and her husband. Take the public into your confidence, sir. How far are you with this investigation? Have you interviewed Ms. Diko? Have you interviewed her husband and also the health MEC and his wife?
Right. No, thank you for that. Before I get into that, you raised a point around Life Isidimeni, which I would really just want to give a brief one-liner. We did an investigation in that space, and various number of people were found to have been made themselves guilty of misconduct. Some of those resignations were based on the findings that we made, and as we have been on record as saying, the phenomenon of people resigning in the face of investigation, it's so widespread in the public sector, at least in areas where we have done investigation. So what we are going to do is that we will still pursue those people criminally, and also if there are any civil recoveries. We've got matters now that are in the special tribunal, which we would like to pursue. Those matters would be coming in. They've been issued already. Papers have been issued in the special tribunal, and we expect the orders very soon.
Advocate Mothibi, let's get back to the question involving Kusela Diko, her husband, the health MEC, and his wife in Gauteng.
Right. I want to come to that. As you recall, I did say that we started off on a secondment and did some investigation on this matter, and then we realized that there's a need for a really wider investigation so that we can also be able to use our powers as provided for in our legislation. And then we started the process to put together the proclamation, which went through our minister and then to the president.
Advocate Mothibi, I have very limited time. Can you answer my question? Have you interviewed Kusela Diko? Have you interviewed the health MEC and his wife? And can you tell the public what you have found, please?
No, at this stage, we have not as yet interviewed the president's spokesperson. That's just this week or this past week on Friday. I had a briefing from all the teams in all the provinces, in particular the Gauteng team. They've given me a lineup of the witnesses and the contracts that they are reviewing. As you know, that the contracts went up from 91 to about 102. So, amongst others, they will be interviewing all of those witnesses, including the president's spokesperson and her spouse, including the MEC, including the MEC's wife. So the investigation is underway.
All right, this is Gauteng. Now, you, of course, have a very wide remit. We have seen, for example, that the Premier in the Eastern Cape has cleared his MEC for health in relation to procurement there, the same in Limpopo, and we have also seen in KwaZulu-Natal there are irregularities. Just give us a breakdown quickly. Let's start with the Eastern Cape. Have you interviewed the health MEC there?
In the Eastern Cape, yes, I got also a brief from the team in the Eastern Cape based on the allegations we received. We received close to about 8-9 allegations relating to various departments in the Eastern Cape, some municipalities, Department of Labour, Department of Health there, OR Tambo, and you know the well-known motor scooters contract, the door-to-door, and also the water provision in the OR Tambo. The team, again, has collected all the evidence and they're busy analyzing. Already there are indications that there might be procurement irregularities there. The formal findings will be made. They have not as yet interviewed the MEC, and that will happen. But
when exactly will that happen? Advocate Mothibi, when will you interview the MEC? Certainly she is a key person involved in this, and she's already been cleared by her political principal before you've even interviewed her. So time is obviously of the essence. When do you think you will be speaking with her?
Time is indeed of the essence. I'm expecting that the team in the Eastern Cape would be approaching the MEC to interview her in the next week or two.
Okay, so Advocate Mothibi, what I want to understand, you, for example, have done investigations into the SABC. We've seen people like Hlaudi Motsoeneng linked to state capture resign, and we've seen lots of resignations, but no one is criminally pursued. Why is that? What is the process once you have submitted a report? Whose responsibility is it to take the matter further, to proceed criminally where it is recommended to do so?
Right. Karima, you would have heard the president when he announced this proclamation to investigate the COVID-19 irregularities. He did indicate that SIU has got the powers to go and recover the money and claim for damages. But also when the law also states that when SIU finds evidence pointing to criminality, that evidence has to be taken to the NPA. And our expectation is that the NPA should assess. They are the owners or the custodians of public prosecution in the country. They should go through it, satisfy themselves that there's evidence to push through the prosecution. When there are gaps or they still have to ask questions, we expect that they should ask us those questions so that we can have a a winnable case in court.
Okay, so Advocate
in
Mothibi,
relation to the SABC.
Yes, have you, this is what I want to come to, sir. In the case of the SABC, have you given the information to the NPA? I will be speaking with the NPA spokesperson, Sipho Ngwema, a little later. Unfortunately, technology doesn't allow us to have you on together. We're speaking to you one at a time. But which dockets have you given to the NPA or cases relating to corruption, dating from the time of state capture, that they need to pursue, that you feel you've got evidence to go after politicians? Because what people want to see are arrests, and so far we've had no arrests. We just have resignations with golden handshakes.
Right. At the SABC, I can mention at least that there's one executive that was arrested.
Can you give us the name?
So I don't have the name with me now, but she was responsible for abusing the bursary provisions at the SABC. That case has already appeared in court. It's been postponed for hearing. So that is the part where, after our referral to NPA, we saw a speedy process, having her charged, having her appear in court, and now it's postponed for trial. There are other matters, including referrals of the service providers that have made themselves guilty of irregularities in the SABC space. Because remember, the criminal charges, you can charge natural persons, you can also charge legal persons.
Okay,
so we've already
Advocate Mothibi, I know the process and the law. I want names. So, for example, have you recommended to the NPA that your investigation into the SABC, that they should charge Hlaudi Motsoeneng, the former CEO and CFO of the company, for example? Has there been any politician, like, for example, former Communications Minister Faith Mutambe, have you found in your investigations in the SABC, have you recommended to the NPA that criminal proceedings should be pursued against those two individuals, for example?
At the moment, with our investigation, we are wrapping up. We have just concluded the governance reviews. So with the governance review, we have found that various boards of SABC have made themselves guilty of some irregularities. So I have just been in contact with the chairperson of the SABC board. We will be presenting that governance review finding probably next week, and we will also present to the Minister of Communications, and we will now point out who would be responsible and who would be taken to court in all the circumstances. But I can confirm that in the case of Mr. Motsoeneng, there's a case pending in court where we are seeking to recover from him. And in case of Aguma as well, there are cases pending in court. So those processes are in court, and obviously we are now dependent on the court process. Okay,
final question, Advocate Mothibi. Can you tell me whether the CFO of the Department of Health in Gauteng is one of the individuals that should be pursued for investigation and charges with the NPA relating to the e-commerce tender report that you have given Premier David Makhura?
At this stage, I can see that you really want to go into the details of that report.
That's exactly what we need to do, sir, because the country wants to have answers.
Yes. So we found various irregularities in that space, and again, I would really want to plead with you so that I give the Premier the opportunity to make those pronouncements. Remember that that report was put together based on a secondment. A secondment means that we second employees of SIU to the department, and the report that we produce becomes the department's report. Although we put our hand on it, as being done by SIU.
Okay, so you are saying that essentially Premier David Makhura needs to take South Africans into their confidence and tell us who in your report you recommended should be pursued for criminal charges with the NPA. So we look forward to the Premier, of course, taking South Africans into confidence. Advocate Mothibi, we will be checking in with you regularly as you report to the President. We're going to take a short break now. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. When we come back, we will be joined by the head of the Hawks, General Godfrey Lebeya, as well as Nishan Bolton from the Katrada Foundation. Don't go anywhere.